Test your English level, a 1 to C2, Jacob English Academy. Do you actually know your English level? Not the level you hope you are, not the level you put on your resume, your real, honest English level. Today, I'm going to test that for you, from A1 all the way to C2. My name is Jacob, and this is Jacob English Academy. Each level in this video will get a little harder than the one before it. The vocabulary will get more advanced, the sentences will get longer, the ideas will get more abstract, and I'm going to slowly speak more naturally, the way a real native speaker actually talks, with natural rhythm and natural speed. So stay until the very end, answer every single question, and don't skip ahead, because at the end of this video, I'm going to explain exactly what each level means and what it says about your English right now. Before we start, here are the rules. Rule 1, do not turn on subtitles the first time you watch this video. I know it's tempting. I know your hand is already moving toward that button. Resist it. If you use subtitles the first time, you're testing your reading, not your listening, and that will give you a false result. Rule 2, listen carefully to each section. At the end of every section, I'll ask you 3 simple questions. Do your best to answer them honestly, in your head or out loud, and then write your answers in the comments below this video. Rule 3, and this one is important. If you get 2 or 3 questions correct, that level is comfortable for you right now. If you get 0 or 1 correct, that level is a little too advanced for you at the moment, and that is completely fine. It does not mean your English is bad. It simply means you now know exactly where to focus your practice. This is not an official English exam. There is no certificate at the end of this, but it will give you an honest, useful picture of where your English listening actually stands today. One more thing before we start. I want you to actually commit to this, not just watch passively. Grab a piece of paper or open a notes app on your phone and actually write down your answers as we go, level by level. Don't just think the answer in your head and move on, because it's very easy to convince yourself you understood something when you actually only understood part of it. Writing it down forces honesty. And honesty is really the whole point of this video. This only works if you're truthful with yourself about where you actually are, not where you wish you were. If you're ready, let's begin with A1. Number A, 1 English. This is A1 English. Listen carefully. Hello, my name is Jacob. I am a teacher. I teach English online. I have a small studio. I have a microphone. I have a camera. Today, I am making a video. I am speaking English. I am speaking slowly and clearly. I like teaching. I like helping students. My students are from many countries. Some students are from Asia. Some students are from South America. Some students are from Africa. English is difficult at first, but you can learn it. Listen every day. Practice every day. Little by little, your English will get better. Don't give up. Now answer these 3 questions. Question 1, what is Jacob's job? Question 2, what does he have in his studio? Question 3, where are his students from? Here are the answers. Jacob is a teacher. He has a microphone and a camera. His students are from Asia, South America, and Africa. If you got 2 or more correct, your English is probably A1 or higher. Stay with me, because we are only just getting started. Number A, 2 English. Now let's move on to A2 English. Listen carefully. Yesterday, I had a very normal day. I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I felt a little sleepy, so I made a strong cup of coffee before doing anything else. After breakfast, I checked my messages and answered a few emails from my students. Then I walked to the small market near my apartment to buy some food for the week. The market was busy because it was Saturday morning, and a lot of people go shopping on the weekend. I bought vegetables, bread, cheese, and some coffee, because I always seem to run out of coffee. When I got home, I cooked a simple lunch and watched a short video while I ate. In the afternoon, I recorded 2 new lessons for this channel. It took longer than I expected, but I was happy with how they turned out. In the evening, I called my brother and we talked for almost an hour about nothing important. It was a simple day, but a good one. Now answer these 3 questions. Question 1, what time did Jacob wake up? Question 2, why was the market busy? Question 3, what did he do in the evening? Here are the answers. He woke up at 7 o'clock. The market was busy because it was Saturday. In the evening, he called his brother. If you got 2 or 3 correct, this level feels comfortable for you, and that's a great sign. Let's continue to B1. Number B, 1 English. This is B1 English. Listen carefully. A few months ago, I decided to travel alone for the first time in my life. I had always traveled with friends or family before, so this felt like a big step for me. I booked a flight to a small coastal town that I had never visited, and honestly, I felt more nervous than excited during the first few days of planning. When I finally arrived, everything felt strange and unfamiliar. I didn't know the streets, I didn't know anyone. I even got lost twice on the very first day, which was a little embarrassing. But something interesting happened. By the 3rd day, I had found my favorite coffee shop, learned 2 useful phrases in the local language, and made friends with the owner of a small bookstore near my hotel. Getting lost had actually helped me discover parts of the town I never would have found on a map. By the end of the trip, I realized that traveling alone taught me something important. Being uncomfortable for a short time is often the price you pay for a much bigger reward later. Now answer these 3 questions. Question 1. Why did this trip feel like a big step for Jacob? Question 2. What happened on the first day? Question 3. What lesson did he learn from the trip? Here are the answers. It felt like a big step because he had never traveled alone before. On the first day, he got lost twice. He learned that being uncomfortable for a short time can lead to a bigger reward. If you got 2 or 3 correct, you understand this level well. Now, let's move into the harder levels. Number B2 English. This is B2 English. Remember to listen carefully and stay with me until the end. A couple of years ago, I made a decision that most of my friends thought was a little reckless. I quit a stable, well-paying job to start teaching English online full-time, with no guaranteed income and no real backup plan. At the time, I told myself I had thought it through carefully, but looking back honestly, I think a large part of that decision was pure stubbornness rather than confidence. The first 6 months were genuinely difficult. I had very few students. My savings were shrinking faster than I expected, and there were several nights when I seriously considered going back to my old job and admitting defeat. What kept me going wasn't some dramatic burst of motivation. It was smaller than that. It was the handful of messages I received from students who told me a lesson had actually helped them understand something they had struggled with for years. Those messages weren't loud or frequent, but they were enough to convince me to keep going for 1 more month, and then another. Slowly, the channel grew, the students multiplied, and the risk that once felt reckless started to look, in hindsight, like the best decision I've ever made. Now answer these 3 questions. Question 1, what decision did Jacob make a couple of years ago? Question 2, what kept him going during the difficult first 6 months? Question 3, how does he view that decision now, looking back? Here are the answers. He quit a stable job to teach English online full-time. What kept him going were the messages from students who said his lessons had genuinely helped them. Looking back, he views it as the best decision he's ever made. If you got 2 or more correct, you're doing very well. Now, let's move into the advanced levels, C1 and C2. Number C, 1 English. This is C1 English. Listen carefully. There's something quietly ironic about the way modern culture talks about authenticity. We're constantly encouraged to be ourselves, to express our real personality without fear of judgment, and yet almost every platform designed for that self-expression rewards a very particular, curated version of a person rather than an unfiltered one. You're told to be authentic, but authenticity that doesn't perform well tends to get buried, while a more polished, slightly exaggerated version of yourself tends to rise to the top. The result is a strange kind of performance where people believe they're being genuine while quietly, almost unconsciously, editing themselves to fit what gets rewarded. This isn't necessarily dishonesty in the traditional sense. Most people aren't lying outright. It's subtler than that. It's the gradual, almost invisible shift where you start choosing which parts of yourself to show based on how they'll be received, until eventually the line between the real you and the version you present becomes genuinely difficult to locate, even for you. None of this means self-expression is pointless or fake by definition. It simply means the idea of effortless authenticity, the version we're all supposedly chasing, might be far rarer and far more constructed than most people are willing to admit. Now answer these 3 questions. Question 1. What irony does Jacob describe about authenticity in modern culture? Question 2. What does he mean by editing themselves to fit what gets rewarded? Question 3. What is his overall argument in this passage? Here are the answers. The irony is that people are told to be authentic, but platforms tend to reward a curated, polished version rather than an unfiltered one. Editing themselves refers to people unconsciously shaping which parts of their personality they show based on what gets a good reaction. His overall argument is that effortless authenticity may be rarer and more constructed than people admit. If you got 2 or more correct, excellent work. Now, let's move on to the final and most difficult level. Number C, to English. This is C2 English, the most advanced level on this test. If you don't fully understand this passage, genuinely, don't worry about it at all. The vast majority of English learners, and honestly a fair number of native speakers too, would find this challenging. But if you do understand it clearly, your comprehension is exceptionally strong. Listen carefully. There's a recurring pattern in how societies respond to periods of rapid technological change, and it tends to unfold along remarkably predictable lines regardless of the specific technology involved. One faction insists the innovation will be catastrophic, eroding some essential quality of human experience that can never be recovered once lost. The opposing faction insists it will be liberating, solving problems that have plagued us for generations. History suggests both camps are usually, if not entirely wrong, then at least substantially overconfident. The printing press didn't simply enlighten the masses, nor did it simply corrode traditional authority, though it was accused of both at various points. It did something messier and less satisfying to either narrative. It redistributed influence in ways that took generations to fully play out, benefiting some groups considerably while genuinely harming others, with the balance shifting unpredictably over time. We appear to be living through a comparable inflection point now, with algorithmic systems and generative technologies reshaping how information is produced, filtered, and consumed. What makes this moment particularly disorienting isn't merely the pace of change, though that's real enough, but the fact that the systems doing the reshaping are largely opaque even to the people building them, which means we're collectively navigating consequences that nobody, including their architects, can fully anticipate or explain. The temptation, understandably, is to reach for a tidy verdict, either celebratory or catastrophic, if only because uncertainty of this scale is genuinely uncomfortable to sit with. But the more intellectually honest position is probably the least satisfying one, that we simply don't yet know, and won't for some time, which of our current anxieties will look prescient in hindsight and which will look, in retrospect, like just another chapter in a very old, very human habit of overestimating both our fears and our hopes. Now answer these 3 questions. Question 1. What predictable pattern does Jacob describe in how societies react to new technology? Question 2. What example does he use to illustrate this pattern, and what point does it make? Question 3. What does he mean by the intellectually honest position is probably the least satisfying one? Here are the answers. The pattern is that one group predicts catastrophe while another predicts liberation, and history suggests both sides are usually overconfident. He uses the printing press as an example, showing that it redistributed influence unpredictably over generations rather than simply helping or harming society in a clean, simple way. By the least satisfying position, he means that admitting genuine uncertainty about outcomes is more honest than confidently predicting disaster or utopia, even though uncertainty feels less comforting than a firm answer. If you got 2 or more of those correct, genuinely, your English comprehension is outstanding. You're able to follow fast, dense, abstract, native-level English with layered arguments and implied meaning, and that puts you ahead of the vast majority of English learners worldwide. Number your results. All right, it's time for your results. Remember, this test is only an estimate, not an official exam, but it should give you an honest, useful sense of where you actually stand today. If you passed A1, you can understand very simple, slow, and clear English about basic personal topics. That's a real foundation, and everyone starts there. If you passed A2, you can follow everyday descriptions and simple stories about familiar situations, as long as the speaker isn't going too fast. If you passed B1, you can understand personal stories with more detail, follow a clear sequence of events, and grasp the general feeling behind what someone is saying. If you passed B2, you can follow longer explanations, understand someone's reasoning, and pick up on unexpected turns in a story, even when the topic isn't familiar to you. If you passed C1, you can understand abstract, reflective ideas, notice a speaker's underlying tone and attitude, and follow an argument that isn't stated directly. And if you pass C2, your comprehension is exceptionally strong. You can follow dense, fast, native-style English with layered arguments, irony, and implied meaning without losing the thread, even when the topic is genuinely complex. Wherever you landed today, I want you to remember something. This number is not a judgment of you. It is simply a starting point, a photograph of where you are right now on this specific day. It says absolutely nothing about where you'll be in 3 months if you keep showing up, keep listening, and keep practicing a little every single day. I've taught thousands of students at Jacob English Academy, and one thing I can tell you honestly is this: the students who improve fastest aren't the ones who tested the highest today. They're the ones who take today's result, whatever it is, and use it as a reason to keep going instead of a reason to feel discouraged. A B, one today who keeps showing up, will pass. A C, one student who quits. It happens more often than you'd think. So don't compare your result to anyone else in the comments. Compare it only to where you'll be if you come back and watch a video like this again in a month. Now, I want you to comment your result below this video. Are you an A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, or C2 English learner today? I read every single comment, and I genuinely love seeing where everyone lands. If you enjoyed this test and you want to keep building your comprehension, go check out the rest of the videos here on Jacob English Academy. I've got over 100 comprehensible input lessons on this channel, and none of them feel like a boring classroom lecture. They're designed to help you absorb English the natural way, the same way you learned your first language, through real listening and real context, not memorization. And if enough of you want it, I'll make a full native level English test next, the kind that would genuinely challenge even fluent speakers. If you want that video, type native test in the comments, and if enough people ask for it, I'll build it for you. Wherever you are on this scale today, keep listening, keep showing up. Little by little, your English will keep getting stronger. And if today's result wasn't what you hoped for, come back next month and take this same test again. I promise you, the version of you a month from now, if you keep practicing even a little every day, will surprise the version of you sitting here right now. That's not motivation talk. I've watched it happen with hundreds of my own students over and over again. I'll see you in the next video. This has been Jacob from Jacob English Academy. Bye, guys.